In a world where mental health matters, through Food for Thought, we aim to create awareness and empower individuals to take charge of their mental well-being. Join us as we delve into the complexities of mental health and navigate the path towards healing and resilience. Food for Thought with Professor David Bitey.
Did you know that in Kenya, approximately 45% of women aged between 15 to 49 years of age have experienced some form of gender-based violence? That's almost half of the female population. This includes domestic violence, sexual assault, and harmful cultural practices. Shockingly, many cases still go unreported due to fear, stigma, or lack of support. This illustrates the complexity of this issue and emphasizes the importance of addressing it comprehensively. What's often overlooked is that men can also be affected. According to the World Health Organization, the majority of victims are women, but it's crucial to acknowledge that men too experience violence, comprising about 5% of reported cases. But how does this then happen?
For us ladies, we are so vulnerable. We can cry, find our bestie, talk about it. But for a man, ataweka ndani. So I think when we talk about gender-based violence, it is when a space where we've never given men an environment for them to have an open space.
The biggest problem with men that they don't want to come out. They only come out when things gets very worse. And when it is realized later, they know, oh, it was like this, it was like that.
There could be how you will feel while sharing it. For example, kwe upate kama bibi amekupiga. But then sometimes they misbehave. But now sharing out it is difficult.
In fact, according to me, men are more emotional than women. It's just that they don't show it. And the fact that especially an African man is not supposed to cry or look sad. If you look sad, especially in public, or you cry, you are termed as weak. I don't think there's anything wrong with crying. In fact, if you need to cry, just cry. Feel bad, get angry, it's allowed. You're not supposed to suppress your emotion because you're afraid someone will think you're weak.
In this era, loving is supposed to mean money or resources. So if you don't have money, your better half will trash you, will say you are not man enough, I even don't know why we are together, you have really wasted me for a very long time, how I wish I could get another better partner. So mentally, as a man, you are defiled.
To truly understand the dynamics, it's essential to hear from those directly or indirectly impacted.
It started aggressively, like I deposit the money he takes. I ask, initially there was no physical followed. If I ask now, it will be a slap, or I'll be hit in front of my staff, or he will take my phone and hit me with it, or come and push me, or do whatever he wants. To this day, I am still healing. There's a way I can go wash my hair and you cannot massage this area. I do not know the extent. Sometimes I will tell you, you can touch this part and the entire of this part will go numb.
Through these voices, we'll uncover the various forms it takes and the far-reaching effects it has on individuals and communities, so that we can work towards a society where everyone, regardless of gender, can live in safety and dignity.
Welcome to another episode of Food for Thought with Professor Ndetei. As you've heard from that intro, we're beginning a brand new series. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about gender-based violence, getting to understand what it is, the different types of gender-based violence. We'll look at the effects and the reasons why this happens and what solutions can we offer to those who find themselves in this kind of situation. Professor Ndetei is here with us as always. Professor, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Thank you for finding the time to allow us to come to your office and do this. We are truly grateful.
It's always a pleasure.
Gender-based violence. This is a term we have heard over and over and over again. But what exactly does it mean?
It is basically violence that is as a result of or is related to the gender of the person. So, and it tends to occur in people in relationship. It can be even before marriage when they are courting and things like that, or when they are married, and they could have, it's possible that it's not just when they get married, much later in their marriage. So it is violence that is based on the fact that you are a woman, you are a girl, I am a man, or I'm a boy, I am the head of the family, and you are a woman and I'm a man, that kind of relationship.
Okay.
Then gender-based is related to gender violence. Of course, violence is the actions that are hostile
towards the other person.
Towards the other person.
Okay.
So basically, in very simple lay language, that's the way I will define it.
Okay. Now, usually when we hear that term gender-based violence, the first thought that comes to mind is that violence being directed towards women. But do we have the opposite, where this violence is directed to men?
Yes, it's very common indeed. In fact, what we did ourselves, you see, they will give you statistics that 36 up to 50, sometime a little bit higher. Depending on the context, and I'm aware of statistics that we are done in women who were HIV positive, and they looked at the gender-based violence. The prevalence was very high. I think it was more than 50%. It will be different depending on cultural groups. I think because of cultural factors. But what we have done in a fairly average kind of a Kenyan society, and this time we did not wait for them to report.
Okay.
The men to report or the women to report. We asked them. We asked them. And in short, we found that for every 2 cases of gender-based violence affecting the woman, there is 1 case where the man is a victim.
Oh.
That's very high.
That's high.
But of course, they will not report. But in this case, we sat them down in a confidential environment, in a safe environment, and we talked about it. They said, oh yeah, we get beaten. All kinds of things happen to us. We get abused. We get actually the opposite of what is traditionally regarded as coming from the man to the woman. So violence directed at males, at men, is very, very common.
It's very common. Does this spill over to children?
Yes, and that's a very important question.
And would we consider that still as gender-based violence when it's spilling over to the children?
You mean violence occurring between a husband and wife? Does it spill over to the children?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And when it does spill over to the children, do we still consider it as gender-based violence, or is it something else altogether? When
it spills over to the children, we will not call it gender-based violence, but these are complications of violence within the family setup. And sometimes you even get more worried about how that violence between a man and a husband and a wife, whatever the dynamics, is affecting the innocent children. And more often than not, it affects the children in a terrible way. In fact, we call it one of the adverse childhood events, violence within the family.
Within the family. Does gender-based violence also happen in the workspace?
Oh yes.
Or is it only in the families?
It can happen in the workplace, and I think it takes very many subtle aspects. In the family situation, it's like kind of emotional. It's not necessarily physical. Eating somebody in the office. Or it's not even financial, but it's kind of emotional. That if the woman does not agree to what is being suggested, you know what I mean, and then they start getting treated in a discriminatory manner.
Okay.
That is emotional violence. Yes, it does occur in workplaces if you look at it that way. And by the way, it's more common than common cold.
Oh. It's more common than common cold.
Well, that's another way of saying it's very common.
Yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised it's common.
It's very, very common.
But people don't talk about it.
But people don't talk about it.
They're afraid of
people
losing
don't
their
talk about
job
it.
and things like that.
Yeah, but you see, in a situation like this, when you try to understand a woman who comes to you because she's having problems and maybe related to work, that is something that we always comes up. I am having problems and I'm being victimized because of SBCD, because I don't compromise on these issues.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very common.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
There was a season, Professor, when there were acts of violence against women in the streets, and the excuse was they are not dressed properly. I think I got to know about 2 or 3 incidences where men in the streets tore off the clothes of this lady because, according to them, she was scantily dressed. It's improper, you know. So, kama hutaki kuvaa nguo tutoe tu zote.
Yes.
So
that is violence.
Yes.
So it's a question of being respectable to other people. But again, it is culture dependent. Go to Europe. I mean, these other places. It's normal for people to dress the way they dress, wearing very short dresses and things like that. And nobody takes offense because it is culturally acceptable.
Okay.
But then it's not that if a lady wants to dress in a particular way and she accepts it, that is okay for her. I don't think anybody has a right to tell her that you should not dress that way. Go to places like Europe. I mean, I've been to places where on the beaches, men and women walk naked, completely naked, like the way they were born.
Yeah.
And they are protected by law. You can do that in this kind of environment, or they don't do it outside this place.
Outside this, yeah.
Don't do it outside this place because it can be offensive to other people. And then the person who was taking us around, actually this was in Vancouver, the person who was telling us, he said, yeah, you are going to see this, but don't react. You just see, but don't look.
See but don't look.
See but don't look.
Yes.
Because if you look, you see what's going on, then the person can take that as an offense.
Yeah, and even in some of the communities, in some of our African cultures, you know, the dressing is a bit...
Yeah. We know where we are talking. I've been there, and you just see, and it's okay.
You see, and you don't look.
See, but you don't look.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we accept that is part of their culture. So here we might be dealing with the cultural conflicts because people see it in different ways. The question is, how far can you tolerate? How far can you, as an individual, tolerate the other person doing things in a slightly different way? You are a pastor. You pastor a church.
Yeah.
How do you think your congregants will feel if a woman came to the church and they were dressed in that particular way? It might be offensive because you are expected, who is maybe the lady or the man dressing, you are expected to respect the culture of the other people. So it's mutual.
It's mutual.
It is mutual.
Yeah. Yes. And no matter how somebody is dressed, I don't think it warrants violence.
No, there is no place for violence.
Yeah. Okay. This is Food for Thought with Professor Ndetei. Like I said, we are talking about gender-based violence. What we've done today is basically give a definition, what it is, who does it affect. What we will do on the next episode that I don't want you to miss out on is to look at what are the different forms of gender-based violence that we see in this nation and how do they affect the people. So that's on the next episode. Remember, you can get all these episodes on the Family Media app. Go onto the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, download the Family Media app, and as long as you're hooked up online, you can stream live both Family TV and Family Radio 316, and you can gain access to a library of our programs. One of the programs you will watch there is Food for Thought with Professor Ndetei. We have almost 1,000 episodes right there. You can take a look at them and get information. So until next week, have a great day. God bless you.
Food for Thought with Professor David Ndetei.